Good morning. Uh, I have initially set up my pond to do a potassium permanganate treatment. I've noticed my koi's flashing and some of them are already jumping out of the water. So that means they have something that irritates them, and most likely it's parasite. So based on my experience, it is usually trichodina that gives them that irritation. So before I do my potassium permanganate treatment, I've set up additional aeration in my pond using a submersible pump, and then recirculating the water and having it splash the surface. So that would add additional aeration to my pond. I've also set up additional aeration to my air pump, and then also place them in my pond before I do my treatment, since potassium permanganate withdraws dissolved oxygen from your pond during the oxidation process. And I made sure my filter chambers are plugged so that the potassium permanganate doesn't recirculate or flow through the filter chambers, because it would also kill the beneficial bacteria present in your biological chamber. So what we do is dissolve first the potassium permanganate. I usually do half dose first. For my pond, I'm using 22 grams of potassium permanganate, and I dissolve first the half dose of it. Okay. Oops, okay. And then what I usually do is mix it very well before I put it in the pond water. You don't want potassium permanganate crystals undissolved, because kois would like to nibble, especially on the bottom, and if they nibble on the undissolved potassium permanganate crystals, it would be harmful for them. So I mix them first very well using an aerator. Alright, and give it about 30 seconds to 1 minute. Just to make sure they're properly mixed. Okay, as we wait for it to be mixed properly, let me just tell you that use of potassium permanganate is very dangerous, and it has to be supervised. For those who haven't used it yet, I suggest that you seek first the supervision of experts, because if you're not familiar or knowledgeable in using potassium permanganate, it would be a disastrous experience, so to speak. Alright, I think the solution is ready. Bok, pwede na. One thing I normally do is do the treatment in a low light condition, simply because potassium permanganate is also sensitive to light. It lessens its efficacy, because when it reacts to light, nababawasan po yung kanyang potency, So, and now we're applying the potassium permanganate. Make sure it's evenly distributed in the pond. After this, I wait for a few minutes and then apply the second dose, or the remaining half of the dose. I usually do a 3 grams per ton dosing. So what I'm applying is about a total of 22 grams. My pond volume is about 7.3 tons. So yan po yung dose ng potassium permanganate. While doing this, you have to be physically present, observing the koi, because as we know, the potassium permanganate actually withdraws all the dissolved oxygen in your pond during the oxidation process, and it tends also to burn the skin of the koi and the gills of the koi if not if there's too much dosing, or they're exposed for a long time in the potassium permanganate. So we need to be very vigilant. My suggestion is, during the treatment, do not leave your pond. Watch the koi, observe if they're swimming normally, and if you see them gasping for air or swimming at the surface gasping for air, that means the pond is the dissolved oxygen of the pond is depleted, and you have to neutralize it right away using hydrogen peroxide. So that's the way to neutralize the potassium permanganate, which in the next video you would see how I do it. So normally I leave the treatment for about 3 hours. So for me, and based on my experience, that's effective, but some would tend to extend it for 4 hours or even 5 hours, depending on the degree of parasitic infestation on the koi. But also, if the deep purple color of the water turns to dark brown or light brown, that means the effectivity of the potassium permanganate is over. So light would also influence that changing of color, plus the amount of algae, dissolved organic carbonates present in your pond. Okay, I'm doing now the second batch. So again, this is a dangerous procedure. I had a very sad experience, or I would say catastrophic experience before. So I'm very careful with this treatment to make sure that the koi are in good condition, and no one would be so damaged that would lead to death of the koi. So you see the purple color of the potassium permanganate, and that's the one we will try to maintain throughout the duration of the treatment. But of course, as time elapses, it will turn to dark brown to light brown in color. So that means it's no longer effective, and it's time to neutralize whatever is left in the pond of the potassium permanganate. Okay, so I would be observing this pond for 3 hours, and after 3 hours I'll see if I would still continue with the treatment, or if I would already neutralize the potassium permanganate. Again, observe your koi. Do not leave the pond during this process or during this treatment process, and make sure that the koi are swimming normally, and if not, you neutralize it right away with hydrogen peroxide. Okay, so you would notice the color. Perhaps later I can show you if it has already changed color, and I'll be observing this for 3 hours. So I'll be doing another video after 3 hours and see what's going on now with the pond.